How's it going, everyone? Mick here. Welcome back to All About Tech. Today we have got an M1 Pro MacBook Pro. That's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? This is the brand new 14-inch MacBook Pro from Apple. This is the base model 8-core CPU, 14-core GPU with 16 gigs of unified memory, 512 gigs of storage. This is going to be a first impressions video, my first impressions of the device overall, and just giving it a quick test in some DaVinci Resolve, and yeah, there's going to be a lot more in-depth, not really benchmarking, but real-world kind of use videos and that sort of thing. So we'll do an unboxing, and then we'll get into the talking points of my first impressions. So here it is in all of its glory, the 14-inch MacBook Pro, the base model, like I said at the start of the video. First things first, because I've been using it quite heavily since I got it, I'm just gonna... Oh, that's so satisfying. And a 2-meter cable for MagSafe. Right, build quality then. So it feels fantastic to hold. When I first saw the keynote of this laptop, I was like, ooh, that looks chunky. But in actual fact, once you actually get it in your hand, it's actually not that thick. It's more squared, but then obviously at the bottom of the laptop, you've got the curvature at the bottom, so it just goes flat down. You don't have those tapered edges like on the previous MacBook Pros. And that's a good thing because it means that they can put in bigger batteries, etc. And there's more space for ventilation. There's 2 ventilation slats like at the side here, and then obviously you got your vents at the back as well. The previous MacBooks faked their thinness, as some people would refer to, because they tapered the edges inwards, but then obviously it tapered in and then got thicker as it went in. I, for one, would love to find out if I could do that myself. Picking the laptop up, it feels absolutely fantastic in the hand. I'll pick it up now, and yeah, like the precision for the aluminium chassis here is fantastic. Obviously, you've got that MacBook Pro engraving on the inside as well, and yeah, it feels so premium, and it's not that thick. It really isn't that thick. It's a little bit heavier, but it's not that thick. And I personally prefer the design of this than the previous ones. Where do I even start with the display? So it's mini LED, ProMotion XDR display. That means that it will refresh up to 120 Hertz. Now, obviously, it's adaptive, so if you're not actually using 120 Hertz for something, it will adapt to whatever content you're watching. So if you're watching a 24 frame video on YouTube, the display will dim itself to 24 frames, and that way it will preserve battery life for you, which is really good, which is why they've probably managed to get such good battery life out of this, even though it's a much more powerful laptop than the M1, because obviously it can dip that frame rate. The notch, it's not that bad. Again, it doesn't cut into any real estate. They've basically just removed the bezel upwards to put it into the menu bar. As soon as you go into any full screen based applications, you can't even see the notch. I'll put a clip up on the screen of DaVinci Resolve. Once you put that into full screen, you can't even see the notch. And when it is in full screen and the top part is black, you can't even see the notch unless you shine a torch directly onto the notch, and then you'll barely be able to see the outline of the notch. The mini LED display on this is absolutely fantastic. You could mistake it for an OLED. The blacks are so deep on this. The colour and the contrast is just so good. I'm not a display expert, but this is the best display I've witnessed with my own eyes on a laptop. Sustained brightness 1000 nits, peak brightness 1600 nits. I've got it set. Oh, it was only about halfway just then. It will adapt automatically for you. Ports, HDMI 2.0. So I tried this with my Belkin dock, my Thunderbolt 3 dock, and I can confirm that both of my displays, and that's a 1440p 16:9 and a 21:9 ultra wide 1440p monitor. Both of those were driven from one Thunderbolt 4 port. The dock is a Thunderbolt 3 dock, but yeah, just wanted to clarify that both displays work on a single port. You don't have to use multiple Thunderbolt ports in order to get multiple displays. Both displays come up straight away with just the one Thunderbolt 4 port, which is really nice. SD card, it's not something that I use very often. Controversial opinion, I would have preferred a USB-A port than an SD card slot. That's just me. There's still a lot of accessories that require USB-A. I know it would be very useful for a lot of people, but for me personally, it's one of those things. It's just not that useful for me personally. MagSafe. I got to experience MagSafe with my first ever MacBook Pro, which was a 2012 unibody. I'm pretty sure that was MagSafe. MagSafe is an excellent connector. The magnets are pretty strong. Like, I'm pulling that, and it's not coming off. And I'm actually pulling the laptop. It's a lot weaker if you just pull up or pull down. But yeah, you're gonna have to give it a really sharp tug in order for this to disconnect without the laptop moving. And yeah, like I said before, the cable is a 2 meter long USB-C to MagSafe connector cable. It's braided, it feels really nice, and it's 2 meters. Moving on to the keyboard and trackpad. Touch bar is gone. Function keys back in with the Touch ID, with a newly designed Touch ID key. So yeah, and the keyboard well is all blacked out as well. I think this looks really nice. Don't believe what Apple said, and don't believe what some people say, where it feels like a mechanical keyboard. It is not a it doesn't feel like a mechanical keyboard, not to me anyway. A proper mechanical keyboard is a full size mechanical keyboard. This doesn't feel like a mechanical keyboard. I'm going to say mechanical keyboard a few more times. As far as laptop keyboards go, it is right up there. It is one of my favourite keyboards to use. The XPS is really nice as well. I've given that a try. The Legion 7 that I had previously, that had a really nice keyboard, and that also had the number pad, but it had an awful trackpad though. Which, moving on to the trackpad, absolutely fantastic. What do you expect from an Apple device? They are the leaders when it comes to trackpads. Obviously, the haptics and in the Force Touch, it is absolutely fantastic. There's no real change there. It's Apple doing what Apple does in regards to the trackpad. Moving into performance, obviously I've not had that much time to do an awful lot of stuff, but I have had a chance to edit the unboxing part of this video already, and I will be continuing with the editing of this part of the video on the DaVinci Resolve on this. And yeah, so shooting on my iPhone 13 Pro, shooting in high efficiency 4K 30 frames footage. I probably should have changed it to 24 frames. I don't know why I didn't. But yeah, 4K 30 frames, and yeah, it handled it without an absolute hitch, and with multiple tracks as well. This with 2 video tracks, a separate audio track, and with some animated effects, animated titles, etc. as well. I've not managed to tax it all that much, and I've also rendered the first part of the unboxing as well, and it was a 2-minute, around 2-minute clip, and it did it in around 45 seconds, so way faster than real time. And again, that's high efficiency 4K as well. It's not H.264, it's H.265, which saves you on your storage. But it can be notorious for many laptops, as it requires more processing. I've got more performance videos that I want to do on this. I want to look at gaming from personal experience with the M1 MacBook Air for gaming. This isn't going to be a gaming machine. The problem doesn't really lie with the hardware. The problem lies with developers wanting to develop on the Metal API, which a lot of gaming developers just don't do, because the market for gaming on macOS is just nowhere near as much as PC gaming. But you can. It's not to say you can't game on this. Again, you will get good performance in many titles. It's just a case of compatibility. And if you want to play some Windows-based games, you'll have to go through either crossover or Parallels virtualization in order to achieve that. But that is my first impressions for now. I am really impressed with the quality of the product that Apple has put out here. I've been excited about these M1 Pro and M1 Max, which we ended up getting as well, chips all year, because obviously we all thought it was going to be called M1X, and then they brought out 2 chips, and this base model is probably going to be enough for the vast majority of people. Again, when it comes to the upgrades, I find that that's where Apple really do milk people for their stuff. I didn't even mention the SSD is super quick, PCI Gen 4 speeds, easily, around 5,000 read and 4,500 write. It is a really quick SSD, but yeah, that would be the only thing really that I'd maybe consider upgrading, because you can't get those speeds on external SSDs. But again, for me, for video editing, a 1000 read, 1000 write SanDisk Extreme Type C SSD will be more than enough to be able to seamlessly edit directly from the external drive. So it doesn't really affect me having more storage. So yeah, I've been Mick from All About Tech. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, I've got more videos coming up. I want to do some Parsec, a Parsec performance video. I'm really into Parsec as a service. It's where you stream your gaming PC to another device, or your work PC to another device. I'm going to see what macOS hosting performance is like on this, etc. And yeah, maybe I'll dive into some other maybe like a video editing workflow video, etc. Just to see just to see what else it's like. And yeah, so stick around. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of that. Turn on that notification bell so you don't so you're notified every time that I upload a video. And with that said, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys out in the next video.